Welcome back, dear viewers. We've been joined here in the studios of Hala Kuwait with our special guest, Hamza Taqi, Master Performance Consultant. Of course, it's a pleasure to have you back here in the studios of Hala Kuwait.
The pleasure is always mine. It's always, I'm happy to be among you.
And we're really happy to have you.
Definitely. We're always happy for you to share knowledge with us, such a valuable knowledge you have.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, today we would like to know more about emotional intelligence. So can you tell us more about it?
That's a very important topic, emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence basically is the ability to recognize and understand your emotions and the emotions of others around you. And use that knowledge to better socialize or interact with people and build relationship. So, and we don't look at emotions. Sometimes people say women are more emotional than men. No.
It's not true.
It's not true. Even men are emotional, women are emotional, but women have much better way of dealing with their emotions. They are much better. I don't know, God created them that way.
They can express it in a better way.
Yes. Men tend to, I don't know, it's the society or the culture, men tend to not to,
Maybe they hide their emotions.
Exactly.
Yes, of course.
To fear the look and, their manhood
Yes.
getting threatened, I guess. Yeah.
Definitely.
And there is also different types of emotional intelligence. So can you tell us about the different types as well?
I don't know about the different type, but if it's type, then you have low emotional intelligence or you have high emotional intelligence. But the best part is the category or the pillars of emotional intelligence. And number one is self-awareness. You need to be knowing your emotions, how they feel, what sort of body reaction you get when you have certain emotions, and then you need to control those emotions or manage your emotions. And then the third pillar, where you have to understand others, which means putting yourself in others people situation and feel what they feel, and this is part of empathy, right? And then the fourth one is the social skills, where you put them all together. Number fifth, another author came up with number fifth, which is self-motivation. You have to have self-motivation. You motivate yourself to tackle certain or take a certain decision.
Of course, I think that's very important, Mohammed, to deal with your emotions,
Exactly.
especially if you struggle with emotions and you hide it, and eventually that becomes into a more problematic situation where it's very hard to deal with yourself and other people. So you really have to control these kind of situations.
You're absolutely right, because if you're not emotionally intelligent, the only way you can live comfortably is in an island by yourself. Because
solitude.
We deal with people, we interact with people, so we need to manage our emotions. Sometimes it takes us somewhere that we don't want to.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. So when it comes, sometimes we go to funerals and we see people like in a situation they're supposed to cry at, they don't cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go to a wedding, we see people supposed to be happy, but they are not smiling.
Yeah.
They still have the same like stone
emotions,
like nothing moving at their face.
Right.
And sometimes it's time, let's say a birthday or being successful at school or getting their degrees or
especially
failing
now.
Also,
Yeah.
we cannot see the expression of guilt or happiness or sadness. Why? How can we know if that person lacks the emotional intelligence? Will you please tell us?
Well, if a person lacks emotional intelligence, that means they are self-centered. They tend to blame others. They get distracted very easily. They don't know how to prioritize. They cannot delay gratification to do something more important. They go for the gratification or the fun, and then they want to do the hard job. So they're a bit confused, and they tend to blame others because they don't understand their emotions, and the others' emotions. So they tend to make problematic interaction with people, like anger management. They cannot control their anger. And this happened to one famous person and we all saw him how he acted, you know. And this actor we all love, but the way he acted was not him, as if he was taken by a demon.
I know what actor you're talking about.
Yes.
Especially his hair looked like horns, like when he got angry.
Exactly, and that's we use that, you know, expression. You know, he has a horn because they cannot define their emotion. So let alone controlling their emotion. For example, there is a difference between sad, upset, and for example, scared.
Exactly.
Big difference. Or we don't know. They don't teach us. I mean, you know, the 4 basic emotions. Like they taught us in school. I learned the main colors, the 3 main colors: blue and red. And when you mix them, you get all the colors. But they didn't teach us the 4 basic emotions, which is sad, mad, glad, and scared.
Exactly.
And these are very important that we talk about and we label, so we become more, you know, smart in our emotion.
Exactly.
Of
So
course.
emotional intelligence is being smart about your emotions.
And how to interact with them.
Because see, we have been from 100 years, we've been talking about IQ only, which is the intelligence of the brain, okay? There is the intelligence of the emotions, and usually they call them sometimes book smart or street smart. Book smart can get you to get to a good school, you get a good job, but it will not take you further than this. You need the emotional intelligence to grow in the job or to grow on wherever you are doing. So emotional intelligence is far much better than IQ. I'm not saying IQ is not important, it is, but complementing it with emotional intelligence, you will succeed because you are dealing with people, you know how to empathize with them and connect with them and influence them at the end of the day.
Exactly. That's what's important, to influence other people and show the right reaction at the right time.
Exactly.
So is it possible for us to learn emotional intelligence?
Absolutely. Everything is learnable, and especially it's more than IQ, which is the brain smart. Emotional intelligence is easy to learn it. I shouldn't say that, I should retreat. It's not easy, but it's simple. Meaning that it takes time. It's not going to be 3 days or 1 week or 2 weeks. No, it's going to be 2 months, 3 months down the road where you check yourself and you check your emotion. What made you upset? Why? And you know your triggers. And once you know your triggers, what makes you angry, when it comes again, you know how to act with it because you are already aware of it, so you can behave in a much better way to connect with people, or even to have an argument or have a conflict with people, but becomes a productive conflict.
Exactly.
Of course, without getting aggressive in that exactly, with that kind of conversations. Sometimes you get angry and the conversation becomes aggressive, so you really need to handle the situation, control your emotion and interact and have a normal conversation.
Exactly, so people will be attracted to you, they will be listening to you, and that's what's...
And some people, unfortunately, they turn it into like a political debate, like when they discuss with each other in Diwaniya, which is not right.
Yes, yes, and you know, we see it, like, I wish that, you know, emotional intelligence is taught in school for children, because, you know, when you are younger, you can learn it much better. It will help you down the road in your life. Our friend Danielle Goldman is doing a good job by making curriculum for school from 5 years old until year 12 to build their emotional intelligence, because they understand. And Singapore, they did that. They understand. Because Singapore, they don't have resources like we have. But the only resource they have is their people. So they want their people to be performing very well and engaging. So they teach them emotional intelligence.
Of course, I think teaching emotional intelligence is very important. And for people who have already learned emotional intelligence, how can they improve it? Do they continue on learning? How do they do that?
It is ongoing. It is ongoing. And the beauty, there is some sort of assessment that you can take, and it gauges you on the 5 pillars that we talked about. How are you in self-awareness? How are you on control, self-control? How are you on identifying the empathy and the emotions of others? And with that, you get a score and you see where you are weak. And then you develop that with the training or with coaching. And then 6 months down the road, you take the assessment again, you see your improvement, you feel, but everybody should get 100% in all the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence to become a good emotional intelligence person.
Of course, and you mentioned earlier that in Singapore they have books to teach kids as well as teenagers. So how can we do that here in Kuwait? How can we teach the kids, the teenager about emotional intelligence?
We have to call the Minister of Education and tell him this is very important for our children. Really, really. I mean, it should be part of our curriculum for the children. And one story Daniel Goleman said in one of his interview is that 5 years old, he came from school and it was snowing outside somewhere in America. So he told his mom, I want to go play. You know, kids, they want to play, 5 years old. They just want to play. It's snowing outside. They want to go play. She said to him, okay, put on your snowsuit. He said, no, I'm not going to, it's too heavy. And they start arguing and screaming and shouting, and he refused to put the suit. After 3 minutes or so, he got up, went to his room, put on his suit, and he was ready to go out. His mother said, wait, what just happened? He said, well, my guard dog got upset, and my wise owl talked to him and made him relax. And this is a pure neuroscience, brain science.
Exactly.
You know, the owl is the frontal lobe, which is the execution place where decision making are taking, and the guard dog is the amygdala, where, you know, the flight and where the emotion is that makes you take an action. So between the emotional mind or the emotional brain and the thinking brain, there is a link, and they are teaching the children by instead of giving them very tough words in biology, no, they're naming them in animals, and they can talk about it in school. They have exercises that they play. They put them in certain scenario. If somebody talked to you like this, how would you respond? And they play these games and role plays to get to be much better in emotional intelligence.
Definitely.
Of course, the parent comes first.
Exactly.
I mean, the parent should lead by example. I mean, you cannot shout and then you tell your son you need to be emotional intelligent. You have to play the role. They have to see you, and then they will. You'll be their model, kind of.
Exactly.
Of course, I think that's a very important point,
Definitely,
Muhammad.
Definitely. Mr. Hamza, sir, we really enjoyed the interview with you and the amazing knowledge you just shared with us regarding emotional intelligence. But please give us one last word when it comes to emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence is very important. It's something that we need. It's because the emotion is what makes us behave, you know, and we get emotions from what we think of. Like for sometimes you think of something and you feel upset, or you feel a little bit grouchy, or you're not in a good mood. Your mood becomes there, and then you get an emotion with that. That emotion will dictate how you behave in front of people, and your behavior gives you the results. So you see people always making mistakes because they go into that round and round negative thoughts, negative emotion, negative behavior. You get negative results. But if you break that cycle and you change your thinking and become positive and reframe whatever issue or challenge that you have, you'll see it in a different way. You can solve it, and that's the self-control, rather than just, you know, going with the flow. No, pause and think about what you're doing, think about your reaction, your response, and then you will be taking a decision in a much better and effective way.
Of course, I think taking a pause is a very important point, as you mentioned, because in a lot of situations, maybe you're so happy, you're very excited, you give the wrong response.
Absolutely.
And the same goes when you're angry.
Angry, we cannot think. You know, people, can you imagine somebody can be creative while they are angry?
I don't think so.
They're
just blocked.
Yeah, their thinking brain is gone.
I'm thinking about people cooking while they're angry. I cannot imagine how the food.
Maybe he's
is
hungry.
The food, he is, but the food will be really.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, with not good energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If they are, you know, making it while they are upset, it's not going to be good.
Exactly.
We thank you so much for being here in the studios of Al Kuwait and also by giving us all that we need to know about emotional intelligence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you here with us on Al Kuwait, sir.
Thank you.
Well, dear
Appreciate it.
viewers, we had with us Hamza Taqi, Master Performance Consultant. Let's move on to our next report. It's about Kuwait National Library Summer Week. Let's have a look at it. Stay tuned.